Hello and welcome to episode 91 of TLDR Podcast, the episode that has yet to have a name because Tyler usually figures out the name after the recording is done. So you'll know the name before we do.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's actually 91. Before we started recording, Tradon thought it was 81. Idiot.
Come on, bro.
It's 91.
Lock it in.
I think he still might be hungover because he was pretty hungover yesterday. This dude.
Actually, I wasn't by the time you saw me.
But yeah, he was still not himself. He was still a little, I'm going to wait to eat kind of thing because, you know, his stomach was kind of iffy. Tradon had a good weekend, I think. How was your weekend, bro?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, Kylie had a few friends over on Saturday night, and I watched the Oilers get drubbed by the Calgary Flames, which was fun. That was awesome.
Wasn't that like a high-scoring game?
Yeah, it was 9-5. Yeah, so 95. So 14 goals scored. Not quite as crazy as the game yesterday. I don't know who it was, but the Red Wings let in 11 goals against. Oh, it's Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh scored 11 goals. The most we've seen, I'm going to say like 20 or 30 years. Like that's insane. But yeah, I mean, it was a good weekend, man.
How many did the Red Wings score that game?
2.
So 13. And then your game was also 13. Wow,
no, ours is 14.
Oh, so yours is more exciting.
Yeah, it was very back and forth, except for the third period, and at that point, you know, the Flames made us look like the little kids that we are compared to them. That's what happens, man. They're a better team.
Calling it like it is. There we go. He seems very happy, by the way. Just a ray of sunshine talking about the Oilers.
Yeah, man. I'm okay. It's not like fire. It's not like it's a terrible, you know, we're not terrible. It's just we just aren't as good as the best teams in the league. It's just that simple.
Did you move him down one in your power rankings? You went from 14 to 15? Yeah,
they got moved down based on that performance. And the Kings were kind of like the Kings and Oilers are just in this battle of attrition here. We're going to be seeing each other in the playoffs.
It should be a really, really, really fun series in that round. So that'll be a good one.
You guys should watch every single game with each other and then fight.
Yeah, we're gonna hate each other.
Yeah, my dad and I are actually pretty excited because we can at least go to one playoff game probably.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So that'll be fun.
Yeah. So the Kings and the Oilers are Tradon's team, obviously, and the Kings are Tyler's team. Tyler, I have no idea how your weekend went, bro. Like you were probably working and doing some boring ass shit. Am I right? Or am I right?
I was up near San Jose. Got Santa Clara University with the baseball team. So I was up there traveling on long bus rides and just grinding out that travel life on the road, man. It's fun. I do enjoy getting out of LA every once in a while. So it's nice to kind of just see a different city, different place. But it certainly is a grind. So I'm really happy that I have off days on Mondays, especially after travel. So, it's always fun to go travel and see different places.
Yeah, it's true. It's like a whole new world out there.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we're going to get right into it here. We're going to go with hockey to begin because that's the only sport that's really in season. So we're going 1+1+1. We're going back to that format with Tradon. Tradon, tell you, bro.
Yeah, we're back. And actually, there's going to be 2 numbers just because the one number is kind of like it's just not much to talk about. It's mostly
so it's going to be 1+1+2.
Yes.
Yes.
We're going to start. It was an interesting week in the NHL. We saw the fallout of the trade deadline. We saw we saw players kind of join their teams and already start to make impacts. Hampus Lindholm looks really good in Boston. Really, really good. So James, I know you're a Boston fan now. So he's matching up with Charlie McAvoy quite like instant chemistry, which is cool to see. Couple other interesting things. We saw a trade kind of fall apart, and we'll talk about that in a bit. And we saw what is rounding out to be our hockey fantasy playoffs. We have one more week left. Okay. 3 people, as I mentioned last week, there's 3 guys that are actually 1 girl. So 2 guys and a girl that are just locked in. Kylie's locked in her first spot. James and Ryan, I don't know who you are, Ryan, but you are vying for second place this week. James, you're vying for second place as well to see, kind of seeding. It doesn't really matter because you'll play each other anyway. So who really gives a shit? You're fighting for home ice advantage in fantasy hockey as if that's actually.
Yeah, because
that's a huge buffer.
Yeah, it's huge. You want that fan. You want those fans there.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a preposition proposition. There we go. In hockey, I think, or any playoffs for any fantasy sport, if you get home field advantage, home court advantage, home ice advantage in the playoffs, I think you should be given like a percentage of a point buffer for being at home. So like maybe it's a 5% buffer of the average week, and see how much that would help you. That'd be kind of cool. That's the reason why you want to get first and second in hockey or basketball or football.
Yeah,
because you get a 5% buffer.
That definitely gives you a little bit of help. Because you really don't.
That's the point.
Yeah, you really don't get. Actually, you should definitely do that for. You could even make the percentage even higher for other. For the first place team against the fourth, because you work so hard to get that first spot, and you see a lot of times, especially in football. Actually, I think football is the worst of it. The first place player. I mean, don't be surprised if you're getting upset. I mean, James did.
Yeah, I lost by 3 points. If I had a 5% buffer, I would have won.
and for me, and this is getting to my second point. You'll guess 5 of us. Well, actually, 5 of you guys have been eliminated. It is down to Michael Weitzman. I still don't know who you are. Please show your face and make yourself known. And myself. It's coming down to this week. I play Alex. So Alex, just forget that fantasy hockey is a thing and just don't set your lineups. And Michael Weitzman plays James. James, dude, I need you to win or I'm done. Like I can't even get in with the points. So you have to win. I have to win. And then I will round out the 4th spot, and I will play my fiance in the first in the first round of the playoffs.
That's what everyone wants. The world
it's not what I wanted, because I was like, I wish you would have lost on the couch so that we would have played each other in the finals. Then we get all the money.
That's a good point.
Did we pay for this league?
Yeah, it's $20. So it's not much.
I gotta look up to my Venmo history and see who hasn't paid me yet.
Anyway, I just want to keep everyone abreast of what's going on in fantasy hockey. Someone who lives here in my house gets very mad that I don't bring it up. So, moving on to the actual stuff that actually matters to everybody here, and that is my 1 + 1 + 1.
It's actually 2
+ 2. Excuse me. My good thing this week. I want to talk about the Norris Trophy race, and I think we all can agree. I don't care who you are. There might be some dark horse out there, but I think we can agree that it's really coming down to 2 players. Cale Makar of the Colorado Avalanche and Roman Josi of the Nashville Predators. I'm just going to throw this right out there. These 2 players have been electric. No surprise. Roman Josi has been the captain for the Nashville Predators for many, many years, and he continues to show that age is not a thing. He's 31 years old, which doesn't seem like very like a lot, but when you're against players like Cale Makar, who's 23 years old, fresh out, in his 3rd season, you're playing against people who are these players that are spring chickens, as we say. They're a lot faster. They and the game's moving in a direction that is blowing some players by, and not for Roman Josi. And it's quite amazing to see. And then on the other side, you've seen Cale Makar at such a young age be such an absolute necessity for that Colorado Avalanche team. His 200-foot game is incredible. I guess I'm just going to straight up ask you, James, if you were to vote, who's your Norris Trophy winner this year?
See, this is a very, very tough question to answer, because they're both really great players, and if you look at their stats are eerily similar. Roman Josi has more points overall because he has a little bit more assists, but Cale Makar has more goals. Time on ice is pretty much the same, about 25 per. And I've watched a lot more of Cale Makar because I've watched a lot more like Western hockey, as opposed to I don't really watch Nashville too much. It's just they don't pop up, But my vote has to go with Roman Josi. Reason being, he's putting up spectacular numbers right now with a lesser team. The majority of his points are coming off of assists, and he has less people to give the puck to than Cale Makar does with the Avalanche. Let's be real, man. The Avalanche are stacked. Their lines 1 through 4, all going to be really good. When you have a team that good, it's going to be a little bit easier to just move the puck up and hopefully you get a goal within 2 passes. And that happens a lot.
Yeah.
On the other side with Nashville, You got Roman Yossi moving the puck, getting into the offensive zone, doing his thing out there because that's what he needs to do to make this team succeed. And he's making that huge playoff push right now. The Nashville Predators are making the push. They've won like the last like 6 games or something like that. I can't remember. But in the last 5 games, he's put up 8 points. And this team is rolling. He is a main proponent to why this team is doing so well, and he's trying to make his team get a good spot in the playoffs. And that's exactly what he's doing. And Roman Yossi deserves this trophy now because of what he's doing. And it's crazy to say that I'm voting against Cale Makar, who is the future of NHL defensemen. But Roman Yossi deserves this flat out.
Tyler, where do you stand? I mean, do you agree with James in taking the quote unquote old guy, or do you think James is missing something here?
James, I see your Yossi, but I'm going to raise you a Makar. And here's why. So I like what you said. But I think I'm going to kind of flip the logic there a little bit. And I think it's almost more impressive when you're the leader of a great team versus leader of a bad team. When you're leader of a bad team, he's
not the leader.
Okay, the highest point scorer, right? He's on a Nashville Predators team that doesn't have a lot of depth scoring wise, which, yes, that's impressive because the other team's going to just pretty much attack you the whole time and you're still putting up numbers. That's awesome. But also your team's going to be feeding you the puck more because you're the only guy that can really make those kind of plays. Makar is on an Avalanche team that has so much depth and there's so many guys that can score. And he's the one pretty much leading that facilitation of everything and leading this great team to its heights. So you have a great team and the player that's the catalyst of that, and that's Makar. And I think, Yossi has more points, which, if we're talking best offensive defenseman, you'd think the most points would win it. That would be the easy answer there. But I think Makar, just the play overall is just better. I think he's also a slightly better defenseman than Yossi is. I know that doesn't really necessarily matter as much with this kind of voting, but I do think when it's so close like this, I think you have to take those things into consideration. Also, Yossi has won the Norris before, correct?
Yeah.
Or has he not?
Okay.
Oh yeah. I was kind of looking at the history of the Norris and stuff, and I feel like the repeat winners aren't as common with that. I could be wrong about that, but I feel like as far as the voters go, they're going to reward a guy that hasn't been there before. And that is basically back-to-back seasons because he could have easily won this last year too. And he's putting up a second consecutive great season. I feel like they're going to reward that.
Do you forget that the Norris Trophy is for defensemen, Tyler?
Yeah.
Right.
I don't forget, but I know that.
Typically, the point man for an offense will be your center for the most part. And so you can't really attack a defenseman.
Whoa, what?
Never mind. I don't know what I'm talking about.
What are you talking about now? Not necessarily. Easy.
But okay, the fact of the matter is like defensemen will push the puck forward.
Yes. And
then we'll go from there. And then they won't really attack. They won't sit in the offensive zone and really wait for the puck to cycle back as much as a centerman or a forward would. And so, yeah, you can like stick and attack Yossi or Cale Makar all you want, but they really aren't the ones pushing the pace. They're giving an outlet pass and you're hoping for the best.
I mean, I think,
and so like you can sit back and like attack Roman Yossi all you want, but once he passes it forward and gets it to a forward, you're now relying on your forwards to produce and get points. With a better team, your stats will be inflated, aka the Avs. With a worse team like the Predators, he has to really work for that shit, man. He's really got to push that offensive zone and got to get up there and make extra passes on top of just the one pass.
I think that is the point that I was going to take, James. Is the possession exits out of the zone exits to me are a big thing. And the crazy thing about this argument is to say that Roman Yossi has been a better zone zone exit stats than Cale Makar is crazy because Cale Makar is like maybe second or he's right there. He's great. But the one thing that offensively, I think they're almost a wash. I mean, besides Roman Yossi's 25 points in 11 games since March 1st, that was as of the 24th, which is insane. I mean, as a whole, offense is a wash. Defensively, I actually probably agree with you, Tyler, in that I think he is a better defenseman, which is actually a very important part of this whole argument in that he is a great 200 foot player. The one thing that I'm going to say, and I think this is very similar to what James was saying, is I think that strength of team matters. And you look at Colorado, they're the best in the West. They're arguably one of the best teams in the NHL. And Cale Makar is of his status, which, you know, that is amazing. That's fantastic. But he's really running the show on the back end there for a team that is absolutely amazing, both in net, offensively, defensively, as a whole. You know, it makes it a lot easier for you to get, you know, solid defensive and offensive numbers. On the other hand, Roman Josi is playing on a team that is borderline not a playoff team. I mean, they're fighting for that playoff spot, and he's putting up these numbers, and he's moving the puck up ice, as James mentioned, and is being such a beast on the back end that is keeping his teams in games. Like he's running his team in a different they're just different teams. And I think that that may be appreciated at the very end of this. Now, with that said, you could argue that this is a coin flip, and that's why we're having this argument, right? But I guess I want to throw it back at Tyler. I'm like, does the strength of team matter for you, or are you still firm in that, you know, Cale Makar is a younger but more, you know, maybe stronger defenseman, you know, defensively, yada yada. What are your thoughts after that?
Yeah, I think it plays a part. I don't think it's, you know, I guess when it's so close like this, you have to, I think those things come to light more brighter, because I just think it's such a razor edge of difference. And so I think the biggest difference between the two is really the team they're playing on. And I think that is the biggest difference, right? You have a Makar that's on the best team in the league versus a Josi who's on a team that's, you know, scratching and clawing to try and make a playoff spot, right? So the gap between the teams is very different. But I mean, if it's an individual award, you want to reward the individual, but you also have to consider the team they're on. Of course you do. So I don't think it's a huge deal. I don't necessarily like when a lot of leagues, you know, reward or will give the tiebreaker if it's a close to just because they're on a better team. I don't think that's necessarily the right way to go about it. I do understand that it should play a role and a factor in your decision for that. But to me, like whether or not he's on the Avalanche or he's on the Ottawa Senators, like I don't really, you know, I mean, if he's putting up great numbers and, you know, he's doing it consistently against every team in the league, that to me is what matters. Like, are you putting up these points against the lowest team in the league, and are you also putting up like against the best team in the league, or are you doing it consistently? That's what matters to me. I mean, I don't think the team performance is a very small percentage of what I would put into my thought process of that.
James, any last thoughts on this one?
You mentioned that it's not just necessarily a team award, it's an individual award, but just looking at straight numbers, Roman Josi has the better individual numbers.
In terms of points, right?
In terms of points, yeah.
Possession numbers, to Tyler's point, are in favor of Cale Makar. Whether that's
would you rather have points, or would you rather have possession?
Probably possession, because
so you'd rather hold the puck for all 60 minutes as opposed to winning.
If you hold the puck for 60 minutes, the puck ain't going in your own net. I mean, that's why those possession numbers are so important, right? And that's why I've really come to look at those numbers a little bit heavier than I ever used to. It's still an eye test thing. And to be honest with you guys, this is, we could argue this till we're blue in the face. It's going to be so close, but can we all agree this, what I'm about to say here is it's one of these two for sure, right? Like there's no one else that even comes close, right? At this point.
Nah.
James?
What about Victor Hedman?
Here's the thing. Victor Hedman could always be considered for this award. Always. And actually, I think that's a great point. But I just think this year, I think the other two, very similar to how Adam Fox was last year, he just pushed above everybody else. These two are just pushing above everybody else. Is Victor Hedman going to be in the top 5? 100%. I mean, for sure. And he always will be. But he just doesn't quite have the numbers to support this. And, you know, at the end of the day, I have to think it's going to be one of these two, but Victor Hedman is probably the closest, or Adam Fox. Adam Fox is now always going to be there. He might be the next best thing.
Don't you miss them? They should be like the Brett Burns Award.
Sorry?
Didn't Brett Burns win this like multiple times?
Yeah, the thing, he only did that because he had massive offensive numbers. Defensively, Brent Burns is so bad.
So you're saying that if you have great offensive numbers and be shit at defense, you can win the award.
No, that's true. But if your defensive numbers suck, then you're getting walked and you're having to make up for it in just straight offense. These other two don't have to do that. I mean, they could pull
81
off
points
the brakes offensively and still keep the puck out of the net, keep the puck on their stick, move the puck up ice. And that's the ultimate question: is are we going to move this award to the best offensive defenseman, or is it the best all around defenseman?
Is it how would you describe it? Isn't it the best offensive defenseman?
Nope, it's not. It's the best. It's the best all around defenseman in the NHL. So,
all right.
There you go.
Greatest all-around ability in the position, whatever that means, and that's what we're arguing. So, I that's why I don't understand how Brent Burns got it. I mean, maybe I guess to your point, James, he scored so much that he didn't have to worry about it. But that was great. We will move on. We'll move on to the bad thing. This is not really going to be much of an argument, but I just want your guys' thoughts on this one. The trade that wasn't or was supposed to but didn't, I guess. Evgeny Tradon from the Vegas Golden Knights was traded to James's Anaheim Ducks in exchange for two basically LTIR contracts in Ryan Kessler and oh god, I forget the other one, but no one really cares. At the end of the day, here's what happened. So we found out the Vegas Golden Knights sent in their trade to what they call Hockey Central Registry. That's kind of like the main hub where all these trades go through and it gets approved, yada, yada, yada. I don't want to bore you guys with all those details, but it was approved by Central Registry. And all of a sudden, once Dadonov's agent and Dadonov found out about it, he was like, well, what the hell? Anaheim was on my 10-team no trade list. And so to give you guys some context, early in July of this year, the Ottawa Senators sent off Dadonov to Vegas, and Vegas was not on the no trade list. So but Dadonov needed to submit his 10-team no trade list to Ottawa Senators by July 1st. He definitely did that, even though it sounds like there was some miscommunication whether Ottawa had provided it to Vegas. But since the Vegas wasn't on that list anyway, the trade just went through, no questions asked. And here we are. We fast forward. We have trade deadline. Dadonov's told that he's going to Anaheim, and he's like, no, what the fuck? I'm not. He stands up for himself, and basically it's proven that he did submit his no trade list on time, and the NHL basically gave him the right, honored the right that he had to not go to Anaheim. James, you kind of brought this up initially, like you're like, oh, this trade might not happen, and the thing is kind of a very important move for the Golden Knights at this point, because I don't know how the fuck they're gonna field their full squad because they're way up against the cap. What was your initial thought, and what is your initial thought after kind of reading about this whole thing? Like, what do you make of all this?
How does a big mistake happen like that? It's like, check your sources, like before you finalize a trade and make it public to the world. It's not like this trade was leaked by anybody. It was literally said by the teams. It wasn't like Scheffler like breaking Tom Brady's news before he wanted to retire. That's not the case. It was literally the teams that said it, and so the agreement had been set in place and everybody had agreed to it. Boom, done. But how does this happen without checking probably like one of the top 5 important things there is to check about a trade, where a person does not want to go? And this dude only had 10 teams on that list, man. And it's like, there's 22 other ones that you could have chosen from. Just make sure he's not on that 10. And they couldn't do that. How does that even happen? Like, double check your sources before you make something public. But other than that, suck it, Vegas. You're not making the playoffs.
you'll be surprised. So there is no centralized database that the trade or the no trade lists go to. It's strictly between teams and the agents. And you think like, why wouldn't they make that? Why wouldn't they send that to a central hub so that the information is there so that the central registry can check it? Oh, Anaheim's on here. You can't make this trade. Sounds like they just want the least amount of people to have access to that information, because if it's leaked, it just changes the dynamic of how a player might be viewed, or it just kind of violates that kind of whole thing. But it seems to me to easily fix this is to just make it a very not really secret, but you can make it a safe central registry that, the no trade lists kind of get filed into, so that this doesn't happen again. It seems like such an easy fix. Or
you could literally just tell the Donov, like, hey, bro, we're going to trade you to Anaheim before telling the world. If he told him before that, he could have been like, I'm not, I can't go there. So it's on my list. So maybe don't trade me there because you can't do it, instead of telling the world first.
Yeah.
You should respect the player anyway and tell them straight up before the world knows.
You could say that. You also could throw it back at Ottawa and say, why the hell did you not move that trade list onto Vegas, who it's still active for? Like, both teams seem like they did not know what the fuck was going on. Vegas is in desperation mode, so they are just going to do whatever they want. They've proven they have no respect for players. That's clear. I mean, almost every single player that was part of that expansion draft is now gone, and it's just because they don't give a shit. And I guess this leads me to my question to you, Tyler. First of all, I'll let you, if you have any thoughts on the whole trade debacle, I want to hear those. But what the fuck is Vegas going to do? I mean, they have way too many guys on LTIR, namely Eichel, that's going to be coming back. And Mark Stone. How the fuck do they bring these guys in?
What we have here is a failure to communicate by a bunch of different teams and people, and it's just a mess. It's pretty bad. Of course, Ottawa's involved. Fuck that franchise. But so that right there is just bad. But then you got to feel bad for Anaheim, because they traded for this guy, and they're one of 10 teams on his no trade list, and you gotta be like, Ducks fans gonna be like, the hell, you don't want to come to Anaheim? I mean, Orange County, we got Laguna Beach.
Don't come here.
Shohei, you don't want to see Shohei up in action? I don't know. Seems cool. But yeah, so that sucks for Ducks fans to just kind of be completely just ghosted like that. Brutal. But and then Vegas is pretty much screwed, because they made this trade to get some cap space off. I mean, I don't know what else. Can you just cut guys? But I don't think that works, because you still have to pay them. So the trade deadline's gone. I don't know what the fuck you do. They're fucked. I mean, you talk about a major mistake on there and not following up with their information. I mean, no trade clauses aren't exactly uncommon. Like these things are common, not just in hockey, but with a lot of other sports. You got to double check your sources to make sure that this guy doesn't have a no trade clause somewhere from, he's been on multiple teams. If there's not a centralized hub, make your own centralized hub and make sure you get all that information. So yeah, I mean, Vegas, this kind of sums up Vegas this season, right? It's just not going well on all aspects, on the ice, in the front office, just all of it is not going great. So yeah, I mean, Vegas at this point, man, you gotta be like, well, we obviously fucked up this year. We're not out of it, but this is the team we got. So shit, man, hopefully it works out.
I wouldn't be surprised if Vegas purposely went out and hurt Evgeny Dadonov to the point where now he goes on LTIR. So it would be the exact same thing. He's off the books.
What's funny? What's funny is he comes back to the team on Thursday. He won them the game in overtime in a game that they absolutely needed to win, which was and the cool thing was all the players on that team gave him all the love that he deserved. He went through, you go through a lot when all that happens, but so that was pretty cool. I don't know how they're going to do it. A couple things to what you said, Tyler. What they could do, even though it is past the trade deadline, you can still make trades, but the player that gets traded simply can't play the rest of the season. So that makes it tough for a team like Arizona, who would maybe do it, to to help give them the cap space they need. Look, no one owes Vegas anything. So I don't know how they're going to have to sweeten that up. I don't know what it's going to take, but basically if Tadanoff went to Arizona, he would just not be able to play. So that makes it tougher for Arizona to be like, okay, well, I can't even get a player that plays with me this year, even though it really doesn't matter because they're out. Maybe they can sweeten up the deal, or maybe even the NHL is like granting an exception given the huge miscommunication. The Ottawa Senators didn't get any punishment for all that, so maybe the NHL is nice. I don't know. Another thing, you ask why you wouldn't want to go to Anaheim. My guess is all the California teams are on there, and there's one big word that starts with a T, and that's why no teams want to come here, and that's taxes. Where we have the highest state tax in the league besides Canada. So that's why teams are either having, all the Canadian teams on their no trade and the California teams. So James, don't be sad. I'm sure he had LA and San Jose on there too, but he would have been a great player to join your team. He would have been a fantastic player to join your team. And I think you guys would have welcomed him and he would have made a difference. Yeah, so I think that the rules are going to be changed. It was quite interesting to see, that all occur. I don't know what the fuck's going to happen. I guess before we move on, James, are they making the playoffs? Are the Golden Knights making the playoffs?
No,
Tyler?
No. I said it last week. They're not, and I'm going to stick to it.
Stick to it. We'll see.
Okay. If they don't make the playoffs, does it mean the Canucks make the playoffs?
No, it would probably mean the Dallas Stars would make the playoffs.
Oh, then go Stars. Yeah, hell yeah. Go Dallas.
Vancouver just can't get there. And they have a tough schedule now. So
good. As long as they don't make it in, I'm happy.
Oh, man. Okay, so a couple numbers. I'm going to ask a question for one number for each of you. 40. I'm sorry. He has more than this now. So I'm going to make sure I have my numbers right. As I bring that up, we'll move on. New York Rangers goalie Igor Shesterkin has a .936 save percentage this season, and a lead over the next guy, who's Jacob Markstrom. Let's put that in perspective. If Igor Shesterkin allowed a goal in each of his next 10 starts, he would still have a higher save percentage than Jacob Markstrom. So Tyler, is Igor Shesterkin worthy of the Hart?
Wow.
The last time a goalie got the Hart was James's guy, Carey Price, in 2015.
Fact check it. But
I will fact check it while you answer.
I'm going to have to compare this to how how rare it is for a starting pitcher to win the MVP. It does happen, and it has to take an exceptional season for it to happen. But Igor Shesterkin, I fucking love that name. I love saying it every time. He's put up a Hart-worthy kind of season, especially for that team that, the New York Rangers are definitely, without him, certainly not as good of a team. He really has brought this team to be not just a winning playoff team, but to a team that has a legitimate shot at coming out of the Eastern Conference. And that says it a lot, because there are a lot of other really, really great teams in that conference. And I think the Rangers, for me, are a dark horse to come out of that conference. And it's because of him. So, I would definitely consider him a Hart-worthy candidate for sure.
Love it. I think you give it to him. I know he had a couple starts here that he got pulled, but you have to think that, having a .936 save percentage, guys, is insane.
Yeah.
That is insane. To put that in perspective, it was 2015 that Carey Price won his Hart, and he had a .933 save percentage. So, and that was just an electric season. And also we didn't have the scoring that we do now. There's a lot of scoring this season, a lot of scoring. And, that you have to think that he should be in the mix there. He probably won't. It just probably won't happen, but I do believe it should, because if that team didn't have Igor Shesterkin playing like he does, it would not be good. And another thing for everybody to, if they care to take a look at Igor Shesterkin's numbers against his backup, Alexander Georgiev, the big difference there makes you really think that there's something with Igor Shesterkin, because you'd think that the team would keep him a little bit closer, but that is not the case. Moving on to the scoring for James. This kid was born on my it has the same birthday as me, so I kind of like this guy. Austin Matthews has 48 goals in 60 games. This is putting him on pace to score over 65 goals in a 82 game season. Obviously, he missed a few games. He missed, I believe, 5 games this season, so he won't obviously get 82 goals. Or I'm sorry, 82 games. But I wanted to ask you, James, is Austin Matthews going to get 58 or more goals? So I guess the over/under would be 57.5. He has 48 right now.
That's 48.
And he has
so
12 games. They have like 15 games left, I think, or 17.
And it's goals, not points. Yeah, he does.
And it's goals.
Yes, I think he does. Like I said multiple times before, the Maple Leafs are literally just offense right now. Giordano went in there and helped a tiny bit, but not enough to really help them all that much. Peter Mrazek's still in goal doing his thing because Campbell isn't healthy yet, I don't believe. So what's going to happen is that you really got to outscore your opponents. And with that comes Austin Matthews coming out of Arizona, playing in Toronto, just doing his thing and lighting that world on fire offensively. He's going to keep doing his thing. He's going to keep scoring goals. And that's all there is to say about Austin Matthews. That's what he does.
Yeah, he's scoring at a 0.8 goals per game pace. That is unheard of. This is probably some of the best scoring seasons we've seen in the modern era. To put some perspective into this, if he does get 60, the last time a player got 60 goals in a season was Steven Stamkos in 2011, 2012, 10 years ago. That is insane. So I think that he could reach the 58. He might even reach the 60 at this pace. The puck just seems to be going in the back of the net for him. You got to love Austin Matthews, even though he gets compared to Connor McDavid every step of the way. I kind of compartmentalize that. I look at Austin Matthews and I think he is such a stud. I do wish of the very few players on that team that I wish success for, Austin Matthews is definitely top of my list there. That is all I have for the NHL this week. I hope you guys enjoyed. Check out my power rankings. They were short this week, but nothing much happened because teams are just kind of steady Eddie.
Steady Eddie. Interesting. Yeah, his power rankings are cool. We get an average of a decent amount of readers on there. So that's great. Short and sweet this week. And that was Tradon's section of 1 + 1 + 2. That equals 4. We're going to take a quick break, but when we return, Tyler's going to talk AL and NL Central Division previews. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everybody. American League and National League Central Division previews. Last week was really fun. We did the Eastern teams. And like I was talking to Tyler and Tradon before, I don't really know too many Central teams because they kind of suck. So here we go. Let's do a division before them.
Let's do it. All right. So we're going to start in the National League Central. We're starting with the defending division champions, the Milwaukee Brewers. This Brewers team, they're known for their very strong starting pitching. They had Brandon Woodruff and Corbin Burns last year. Both of them finished in the top 5 in Cy Young. They're both going to be back this year. They have great pitching. They got Josh Hader there in the back end of the bullpen. This team pitches extremely well. Kind of one of their weaknesses last year was their offense. They did add Andrew McCutchen and Hunter Renfroe to their outfield. Christian Yelich had a really, really bad year last year. We'll see if he bounces back this year.
It's about 2 years, bro. Come on.
Yeah. He's true. He's been declining a little bit in the last couple of years. So the offense, still a little bit hit and miss there, pun intended. But we'll see how they do here in 2022. The St. Louis Cardinals rode a late season surge to make the wild card spot last year. This is a very young and talented team. They got some veterans there too. I think this team in general is pretty underrated. So it'll be exciting. I think that Brewers and Cardinals race there for the top of the division is going to be really fun to watch. Then you got everyone else. You got the Chicago Cubs, who are kind of going through a little bit of a rebuild. Last year they traded Chris Bryant and Anthony Rizzo. They did add Japanese star Saya Suzuki. So we'll see. Some of the times those Japanese stars turn out to be very good, aka Shohei Ohtani. Sometimes they don't turn out so great. So he's an outfielder, I believe. In Japan, killed it. One of the best players there in Japan. So we'll see how he does here in the big leagues in Chicago. The Pittsburgh Pirates, another rebuild year. They're kind of boring. They suck. The Cincinnati Reds, a team that was very competitive the last couple of years, kind of going towards a rebuild as well. So they traded Jesse Winker and Eugenio Suarez, two of their huge bats. Not a very good pitching staff. They're okay. They got a couple of good arms, but that's really about it. Nick Castellanos left in free agency. So not a very good team there either in Cincinnati. So really it's between the Brewers and the Cardinals here for this NL Central. A lot of people, I'm kind of looking at different previews and stuff, and the Brewers, rightfully so, I think are being picked to win this division across a lot of predictions. But I don't know. I like this team in St. Louis. I think this St. Louis Cardinals team isn't getting enough love. James, do you agree or disagree with that?
That's tough to answer and it's tough to say because on paper, this team looks all right. Like this team looks good, a good lineup, a good bullpen, good starting pitching. But then if you look deeper into the starting pitching aspect of it, you realize, hey, they don't have that much depth. And with Jack Flaherty still kind of recovering from his shoulder injury, that takes your ace out of the question right there. And this is the same thing that happened last year towards the end. They ran out of starting pitching. They're going to be relying on 40-year-old Adam Wainwright. He's good, but he's also 40 years old. He had a resurgent year last year. But again, Father Time is undefeated. At 40 plus, you don't have the same velo or control that you used to have. And then you're the back part of your starting rotation. You got two guys who pitched a total of 53 innings last year, and Miles Malakis and Dakota Hudson. And then that's pretty much it. You're not. Who else is going to pitch for them? If those guys go down, and you're going to rely on two pitchers who've pitched a combined 53 innings. You don't really have much area for forgiveness here. And so what's going to have to happen is that outfield who hits for power. Oh my God, that outfield of Tyler O'Neill, Harrison Bader, and Dylan Carlson, they hit power and they hit power hard. They got to go over and they got to hit every single day and play to the best of their ability every single day. If they can make that happen, they can kind of make up for that lack of starting pitcher there. We'll see. Steven Matz, he's also in that starting rotation. He had like a 8.4 or 9 something ERA last season. Like, you're really going to rely on that, dude? Like, it's this Cubs team, this Cardinals team is being placed right where they deserve to be second. Because this Brewers team is a little bit better. But the rotation, you can't rely on the rotation. If you don't have a good rotation, man, you're not going to get very far.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think those are good points. They do need some guys to step up with their pitching for sure to be successful. Another Cardinals related news today: Albert Pujols is coming back to St. Louis for one more year. He's announcing this will be his final season, and he's coming back where it all started in St. Louis to be the DH there and for the Cardinals. So that's super awesome. So this will be the final year of one of the greatest hitters to ever play the game. So, and the fact that he gets to do it back in St. Louis, I think is amazing. So that's another cool thing for Cardinals fans to look forward to. Tradon, I'm sure you love that news, and kind of what's your thought on this, on the Cardinals team?
I think I'm kind of, James really laid it all out really well. And I think he's thinking in the right direction of what the way I see it. And, they won 90 games on the back of, Wainwright. Tyler O'Neill was definitely their best hitter by far. But forgive me, I don't know how the inflection of his last name is pronounced. Jack Flaherty. There it is. See,
Flaherty.
Oh, yeah. Flaherty. He missed a lot of time. 2 months is a lot of time. To be injured, and he just made 15 starts. Now, granted, they made the playoffs, but we saw that did impact them. Throughout the season, and you have to think that his injury concern. His injury history is a concern, and he's currently already injured and nursing an injury already. So without them, I just think the rotation is going to be, to James's point, is going to be just weaker than it needs to be to compete for that top spot against the Brewers. Now, that being said, you do have a strong offense. You do have, and if the rotation can stay healthy, I think that they can make a push. I just think that most of the prediction sites or the preview sites are kind of handicapping them based on the question marks regarding the rotation and, and whether those that rotation is going to be available to you the entire season. Because if it's not, I just don't know how you can compete with the Brewers at this point. It's also tough. You're in the NL. That's a tough in even in the wild card, because there's a lot of teams on the coast that are going to make it hard to even get in the playoffs for the way I see it.
That's true, man. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, you guys talked about Tyler O'Neill, but they got two guys, Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado too, that probably didn't have the best years last year, that I think will definitely have a great year. I think Flaherty is going to bounce back and have a good year. Obviously, there's the huge question mark of health. You can say that for every pitcher. But if this guy's healthy and he's one of the best young pitchers in the game. So I don't know. I think the Cardinals, I think it's going to be a tight race. I mean, I think it's going to be decided by 3 games or less. I think it's going to go back and forth all season. So I'm going to pick the Brewers to win it by just a smidge because of that pitching. I think when it comes to, two tight teams, I look, okay, who's got the better pitching staff? And that's clearly the Brewers right now. They're probably the best overall pitching staff in the National League. And then real quick, I just want to talk about the Cincinnati Reds real quick. Kind of surprising the moves they made recently. I thought this team was on the verge of being contenders, especially in this division. It's a good division, but it's not like you got a juggernaut of a team up there. I think it's a winnable division if you add some pieces. The Reds, really all they really needed was some pitching help, and they were going to be a really, really strong contender because they could hit the ball. I mean, they were one of the best offensive teams in all of baseball last year, and even the year before that. They made the playoffs in that 2020 expanded field. So I was a little surprised that they kind of started to clean house a little bit, getting rid of some of their top hitters there. Obviously, Nick Castellanos leaves for free agency. That happens. Cincinnati isn't necessarily a go-to destination spot for free agents, but this is a proud franchise. And I feel like they're kind of just giving up here when they're on the verge of actually kind of making a run. So I don't know, Tradon, were you surprised the Reds kind of threw their hands up here, or do you think that's just kind of how the nature of it is for these small market teams?
Not knowing this team, I would have said, yeah. I mean, considering they played fine last season. I mean, they had a rough end. They had a rough, down the stretch period, but the rest of it wasn't awful. So I'm not sure what they were thinking. But then you do a little bit of reading, and it sounds like the ownership in that organization and the management in that organization doesn't like to spend money, and they'll find any way to restructure things, move guys out when things just aren't going the way they want. And I believe the word that the management used was to prevent peaks and valleys. First of all, why would you want to prevent peaks? That's absolutely absurd. Like, I don't know why the fuck you'd want to hinder that. Yeah. But the valleys I maybe get, but it's like every team has to go through that, right? And you have to create some consistency for your fan base. They did this, I believe, in 2015, if I read right. And then they turn around, they build it up again, and then they tear it down when things were just starting to kind of go in the right direction. They're like, fuck this. Maybe did you not win fast enough? It just doesn't work like that. And for a city, especially for a city that is very proud, they just saw their NFL team do something that was absolutely incredible and quite frankly surprising to any of us. It's tough to see now your baseball organization turn around and say, you know what, we're gonna punt this season and maybe the next season, down the road. It seems like they're more focused now. I know everything's focused on money, but it seems like that's all they're focused on. And you know what? Sometimes you have to look at your organization and say, maybe we need to keep going and keep going for a winning season, because that's important. That's your moneymaker there. And so it doesn't sound like we should be surprised, because this is what just fucking management does in Cincinnati. But here we are.
Yeah, it is a shame. James, do you agree, or kind of what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I agree. It's like the management saw the writing on the wall and they were like, yeah, we're not going to do well this year, so let's blow it all up. I am surprised that they're still holding on to Joey Votto, though. I mean, he's the aging superstar of this entire organization. He's kind of the heart and soul of this thing. If you're going to give people away for less, like, you might as well give him away, because he can still produce and get a decent trade value right now. His power came back last season. Like it was gone for like 2 seasons. His power all of a sudden came back. So it's like, might as well get rid of this guy while you can if you're really trying to start this rebuild. Because if not, why are you holding on to the most influential guy on your team and one of the oldest guys on your team? What's the point of holding on to him right now if you're doing a rebuild? There's not one. So if you're really going to commit to that rebuild, trade this guy and get some assets.
I mean, I'll say this: the fans are not happy, guys.
No, I wouldn't be happy either way. Yeah. I think Joey Votto is going to be an interesting name to come trade deadline time. I think if this team is selling, a lot of teams are going to want a bat like Joey Votto. I mean, that is a veteran great bat that can help a lot of teams there down the stretch. And trading, to your point, prevent peaks and valleys. I agree. I think that's kind of a silly thing, because what if that peaks a World Series championship? So what if you lose 110 games the next year? You've got a World Series championship, might as well spend and go for it, right? So like I said, I think this team was just a couple of starting pitchers away from like actually contending. And baseball, especially in the postseason, it can be a crapshoot, just like a lot of other sports can. Like if you get in there and you got like one or two like really solid starting pitching, and you got a good bullpen, and they already had the lineup, anything can happen, guys. So I was a little disappointed to kind of see them kind of clean house there. So real quick, NL Central champions, I got the Brewers. Tradon, who do you got?
The Brewers.
James?
The Pirates. I'm just kidding. Definitely the Brewers. Definitely the Brewers.
There we go. Brewers clean sweep here on TLDR to win the NL Central in 2022. Moving on to the American League Central. Guys, this is the White Sox division. Like, let's be honest. There's really the White Sox and kind of these other teams that are kind of just there. There could be some surprises there, and I'll get into that a little bit, but kind of just to go through the teams. We got the Cleveland Guardians. That sounds really weird to say. This is the first year that they switched from the Cleveland Indians to the Cleveland Guardians. They got all the new logos, all that new merch, all that stuff going on. This is again, don't sleep on the Guardians, guys. I think this is a team that I think took a step backwards last year, but they still got a lot of great young pitching if they can stay healthy. And this is a team that can make a run. I think offensively they're a little weak, but don't be surprised if Cleveland makes a little bit of a run. Then you got the Kansas City Royals. I think this team, like I said, there's nothing really that stands out. I think Whit Merrifield is an absolute stud. I think he is one of the most underrated players in the game. They could be decent. I don't think they're going to be shitty. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs either. I think they'll just be okay. The Detroit Tigers is a team where a lot of people are like, who? But I think this team should start to show signs of some potential. I think they've got a lot of young guys coming through their system. They signed Javier Baez. So I think they're starting to figure out, like, I think we got maybe 2 or 3 years here where we might actually be able to contend. So I think you should start seeing some steps forward with this franchise. I think close to a 500 record for this year for the Tigers is a realistic goal for them. So kind of look for them to kind of take a few steps forward. The Minnesota Twins, one of the most confusing teams I've seen in the last few years. We talk about peaks and valleys. I mean, the Twins define that. I mean, they're all over the place. They did add Gary Sanchez and did make that big signing of Carlos Correa. Pitching wise, they're not very strong, not a whole lot of depth there. So I just feel like their pitching isn't going to be great, but I think that they will be competitive for sure. I think they will have a winning record. They just have so much talent there that should do well. Like I said, they're certainly not championship caliber, but they should be a winning baseball club. So real quick. Oh, and then the Chicago White Sox, of course. Like I said, this is their division to lose. They just got to stay healthy. They won 93 games last season. I could see that being bumped up by a couple of games this year. So the White Sox last year, guys, won their division by 13 games. It was the largest division margin of victory in the big leagues last year. Real quick, going around the horn, how many games do the White Sox win their division by this year? James, what do you got?
12.
All right, just one tick under. Tradon?
8.
8. Okay. I'm gonna go 10. I think there's going to be some teams that they're going to be a little more competitive, but like I said, I don't think this division's even close. It's pretty much the White Sox and everybody else. James, you look confused.
Well, you were just, when you talked about the Twins a second ago, you were like, oh, they're built to actually win. You could have said the same thing last season, and they took a massive doo-doo last season.
Like I said, they're very confusing. That's why it's like they're
on paper they look all right. On paper, they look good.
Yeah.
But then they go and lose the game by 16 runs.
Right. Yeah.
They're actually the team I think. They're actually the team I think that's going to keep the delta within 8. That's the team.
Well, yeah, they're going to be the second on there because Tigers, Guardians, Orioles. Come on, bro.
Yeah, freaking Guardians. It's still very weird to hear.
The Galaxy.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So as I mentioned, there's these teams that like I don't think any of the teams in this division are absolute dog shit. I think there are teams here that can show signs that there could be potential. There could be a few teams that here that might surprise some people. Surprising enough for a wild card spot, guys. You see any of these other teams in this division hitting a wild card spot? Tradon, yes or no? And if
no.
Yes, obviously who? No, nobody.
No way. I mean, there's only 3 wild card teams, and I believe last week we talked about the Yankees and the Jays. That one of them is actually who else was in that division that we said?
Red Sox, Rays.
Okay, there you go. So at least I would argue that at least the Rays and the Yankees / Jays are gonna make. That's 2 spots. You got to save room for the Angels, obviously. So there's your 3. There's no room. Sorry, next year.
James, do you agree? Disagree?
I just talked shit about the Twins, so not the Twins, but there is a slight chance the Tigers might actually do something good this year.
Okay, I like it.
Casey Mize has been pitching out of his mind. Terry Schoolball is looking great. Like, they're great pitchers right then and there, and they went into free agency and they brought in Michael Pineda from the Twins. Mm-hmm. This team has an all right pitching staff, and like you had said, they brought in Javi Baez. He's a good little player too. He's not gonna hit for power, but he's gonna hit for contact and is good defensively and can steal the base. You're looking at a team that is all around okay, not terrible. And in baseball, if you can be consistently okay, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna do well. You don't necessarily want to win by 16 runs a game and then lose by 16 runs the next game. You want to be consistently winning 3-2, 3-1. You want to be consistent right through there and just win a little bit more than you lose, and you have a shot.
So who would you say doesn't make it then? Who's the oddball out?
That's dude. See, that's probably
the whole American League.
That's what I'm trying. That's what I'm saying. It's the whole American League now.
That's what the American League is. Way more like the teams are way closer together than the National League. The National League, there's a little bit more of a separation, and we saw it last year. I think it's gonna be the same this year. Like the wild card is gonna be fascinating in the American League. There's 3 wild card spots. There's gonna be 8 teams trying to get into 3 spots. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be super fun to watch. I think one of the teams in this division can potentially win it. Like I said, I kind of like Cleveland a little bit. I do. It's not a team a lot of people are talking about, but I think Cleveland, if they can stay healthy, they have a really, really good young pitching staff that can really make some noise. But they got to get some help on offense. Obviously, you got to score some runs. But like I said, I'm a big fan of pitching. I think they have of these other teams. I think they have the best pitching staff to possibly make a run. Minnesota there too, but again, they're confusing, so I don't trust them. So I don't know what to think.
So do you agree that there's going to be 2 from the East?
That's why
are you not on that same bandwagon?
No, I do. I think it's going to be. It's going to be. It's going to be Tampa Bay and New York. I think from the East.
Okay,
so that we got one left, either from the West or the Central. So it like I said, there's a lot of teams there. I think there's going to be 2 or 3 teams from this division that's going to be fighting for that. And the American League West is also a very competitive division. I think the Angels take a step forward. I think the Mariners are going to be a team that's going to make a lot of noise this year. Obviously, the Astros are going to be there. So
I don't know about that. I don't know about the Astros. We'll talk about that next week.
Yeah.
But the Astros lost some pieces, man. And Verlander's supposed to be the guy again at his age coming off Tommy John. I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, the Astros offensively, man, they're one of the best teams. They hit.
But bye Carlos Correa, that's a tough one. That's a tough pill to swallow.
That's fair, but they still got a lot of good bats in that lineup, and I think they're kind of one of those teams that they don't have a big names. They have Justin Verlander, but past that, but they're kind of one of those teams that kind of just always find a way to pitch well. It's kind of like the Tampa Bay Rays. They just always find there's not a major Cy Young candidate on their team, but they just consistently pitch well. They're very good at doing that despite not having those big names. But we'll get into that next week. But I like those picks. Like I said, this American League wild card race is going to be insanely fun to watch. I think there's going to be a lot of teams from this division. Like I said, the White Sox made the playoffs last year, winning the division. No one else from this division made the postseason last year. I think that might change, and I think there's going to be some really interesting things going on in this division with those other teams that, like I said, no one's even close to Chicago, but I think all four of those teams are kind of in the same boat. Like I said, none of them are really shitty. None of them are really great. It's going to be a dogfight there in that division. I think there can be a couple of teams that kind of rise from that. So it'll be fun to watch. But obviously, I think clean sweep here. Chicago wins the division. I don't think we even need to go around the horn for that. So we got the Brewers winning the National League Central. We got the White Sox winning the American League Central. So yeah, that's it for the Central Division previews. And next week we're gonna move on to everyone's favorite, the West Coast. That's where all of our teams, and that one's gonna be a fun one to talk about for sure. So join us next week when we talk about the NL and American League West.
All right. Thank you, Tyler. That was a great preview. And if you guys had just heard earlier, Tyler said he loves pitching, and there's a reason for that. Apparently, Tyler had a really great curveball back in the day. And just a quick announcement, Tyler was featured on a podcast recently. Tyler, which one was it?
Branching Out podcast. So that episode will drop out tomorrow. I did get to plug TLDR podcast on that when I was interviewed for that podcast. So that was fun. So my good friend, David Lopez, we went to high school together. He works for the newspaper there in Thousand Oaks as a sports podcast there. So I got to be a guest on his podcast. Super fun. So thank you, David Lopez, for having me on that podcast. Branching Out podcast. Maybe we can send out a link to it or whatever on our Twitter, so we can kind of.
Is the logo a tree?
It is a tree. In Thousand Oaks, yeah. Branching Out, get it?
Oh no, that is yay!
Yeah. So yeah, I
Good job, Tyler.
I talk a little bit about my very very short pitching career and kind of how I got into athletic training and all that stuff. So take a listen to it.
Sounds boring. Just kidding. It sounds great. Everybody goes into it. We're going to take another quick break. And in the meantime, I don't know, go listen to that episode. It should be out by the time this is out. But come back after that's over because we're going to go over the GOAT bracket. See you then.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome back, everybody. Hope you had a lot of fun listening to that episode. If you did. If you didn't, that's cool. You hung out with us, listened to some music, maybe listen to an ad. I don't know what Tyler puts in there. But we're going into round 2 of our GOAT bracket today. This lineup, this bracket is going to be kind of ridiculous. It's only round 2, and I'm having trouble with the first one. So here we are. We're going to go straight into it. Round 1, or bracket 1.
What
Jordan,
division are we in?
In the Jordan bracket.
Okay, sorry, I didn't know if you were going to say that.
We're going Jordan versus Magic.
I mean, it's Michael Jordan for me, man.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I mean, I'm gonna have to agree. I don't like agreeing with this one, but I like I said, I'm a big Magic fan. If it's in terms of favorites, I personally like Magic Johnson better. But if we're talking greatest of all time, it's gotta be MJ in this matchup.
And to me, the fact that Michael Jordan saved the Looney Tunes the way he did,
that's true. That is.
Yeah. So did
MJ
LeBron. What does that say?
He's not in this discussion, so
he will be later. Keep that in mind. That's a tough one for me to swallow here because Magic was great, and Magic could have been like the best to ever do it had he not gotten AIDS, but he did. So Jordan moves on to the next round. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar versus Michael Phelps.
Michael Phelps.
Oh my God.
Over Kareem?
Actually, I'm gonna have to say Michael Phelps here.
Michael Phelps.
Oh my God. Why are you guys agreeing? This is not fun. Michael Phelps beats out Kareem.
Look, Michael Phelps, he's the most decorated Olympian of all time.
Yeah.
And no one's come close yet. I mean, we do have a couple swimmers now that maybe could do it, but Michael Phelps, that was the reason you watched the Summer Olympics. That's who we watched. That's who we gave a shit about. He is the best American Olympian, actually the best Olympian in terms of medals of all time. So
that is literally the GOAT.
He is the GOAT of swimming.
Oh no. Bo Jackson versus Joe DiMaggio.
Bo Jackson.
Joe DiMaggio.
Oh.
I
say Bo Jackson just because, like I said, I think doing it in 2 different sports, Joe DiMaggio, incredible. And I think a lot of baseball purists would probably punch me in the face for saying that, because obviously Joe DiMaggio compared to Bo Jackson baseball career, it's Joe DiMaggio, period. But we're talking about the full career. I mean, Bo Jackson played different sports. I mean, that's just
the only reason I picked Joe DiMaggio is because James was mad because we were agreeing. So I know who was going to pick Bo Jackson, so I was not worried about it.
It's a Joe DiMaggio reminds me of DiGiorno.
Oh my God.
It's not delivery, it's DiGiorno.
That's what you go with.
Hey, I don't know who Joe DiMaggio is, man. Yeah, he moved on last round, and I was like,
Joe DiMaggio.
Oh man,
it's Joe DiMaggio.
Oh,
So Bo Jackson moving on to the next round. Next up, we got Walter Payton versus Babe Ruth.
Babe Ruth.
yeah. I see. I don't know. I don't want to agree because I want James to have a say. How about you say it? You be the
Walter
guy.
Payton. Walter Payton, because it's a different era. Babe Ruth played in an era where they smoked and ate hot dogs during their, I don't know.
Which is why it was more impressive. Also, Babe Ruth has way more cooler nicknames.
What is his name, Tyler? You look this up. What's his name? It's not Babe.
George Herman Ruth is his actual name. But he's also known as, the Great Bambino, the Sultan of SWAT, the King of Clash.
King of Crash, man.
King of Crash, man. The Great Bambino.
Does Babe Ruth have an award named after him?
No.
Walter Payton
Yes,
does.
he has a contest named after him though, or the
He
challenge.
does.
He does. That's
Yeah,
even
you
better.
wanna be
He has a
despicable
drinking
human
game.
being. Yeah, it's named after him drinking beer and eating hot dogs, making you
Yeah,
a delinquent.
and hitting dingers every single day of your life. And
I'm
make
gonna
a
piss
lot of
James.
money doing it.
I don't even know what to pick here. I have no idea.
Walter Payton Man of the Year.
Yeah, fine.
Seriously?
No, it's Babe Ruth.
Yeah, okay. I was like, what's that?
Whew, you scared me
sorry,
there for a
dude.
second, bud.
I'm sorry, bro.
That's not cool.
Okay, now we're moving on to the next bracket. It's the Gretzky bracket. Wayne Gretzky versus Gordie Howe. I pick Gordie
Ooh.
Howe.
Oh my God.
Tyler, pick Gretzky and make Tradon freak the fuck out.
I'm definitely gonna go Gretzky. Like I said, he is the great one for a reason. Gordie Howe, amazing, respect, awesome career.
James, you
Wayne
picked
Gretzky.
Gordie Howe for a reason because you wanted me to tie it up.
Oh, absolutely. I want to see who you want.
Look,
I'm looking.
it's Wayne Gretzky. The fact, I mean, he look, the Gordie Howe, Mr. Hockey, was the guy who was the original, ambassador for the sport. When he died, we saw Wayne know that he needs to take the mantle, and he has in every single facet of his life. He is the reason that hockey is here in California. He's the reason that hockey is so great here in the United States. He's still doing great things for the sport. Even though Gordie Howe was the father, the prodigal, the so quote unquote son has taken over the mantle and is doing it in the best of ways.
So does that mean that Connor McDavid is the Holy Spirit?
You very well could say that. We'll see it. The thing about Connor McDavid is he's fucking dull. He's
So is Gretzky.
Elvis Gretzky, a fucking
He's
Looney
not.
Tune?
He's not as outspoken as like a Shaq or someone, but he actually is outspoken. I get nothing from Connor McDavid. So unless he can actually get a personality, no, sorry. Crosby is your Holy Spirit.
Seems blasphemous. Moving on, we got Joe Montana versus Mike Tyson.
nailed it. I mean, I love Mike Tyson, but I think I'm gonna have to go with Joe Montana on this one.
Joe Montana, man. Come on.
Okay, Joe Montana it is. Floyd Mayweather versus John Jones.
Who's John
Also
Jones?
know who
again?
John Jones is.
I
Oh my
forget.
god. UFC fighter.
Oh yeah.
So obviously
I
Floyd's
don't-
moving on.
Yeah,
'cause we all
Floyd.
don't know.
yeah. He's the best
Hakeem-
boxer, right? Basically,
He's undefeated.
technically.
Is
Yeah, he's very
John
defensive.
Jones undefeated?
I don't know. I know he's broken a lot of people's wills to live. So
I mean, that's probably true.
Hakeem Olajuwon, who Tyler doesn't really know but has a great name, versus
Yes.
Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali.
All right, that
Why
was a
we
lot
agreed
easier
this week?
Yeah.
than Bobby Orr.
Fucking Bobby Orr, are you shitting me?
Moving on to the next bracket, we got Tom Brady versus Peyton Manning.
Brady.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Willie Mays versus Mike Trout.
Willie Mays.
Mike Trout.
Don't do it, James.
The power is within
Don't do
your
it.
hands now.
I know who you want to pick. Don't do it.
I'm gonna do it, man. I'm picking Mike Trout.
Fucking bullshit.
What an upset, man.
Brutal.
Who has a greater WAR? Mike Trout does. And the fact of the matter is, like,
That's one stat.
Okay, he can surpass Willie Mays in any other stat given longevity. He has
But
like
he's not
13 more
there
years on
yet.
his contract.
He's
But
not
he
there
will
yet.
be.
It's too
He will
early.
be. Is it? Is it?
It is.
Who's made more money in their career?
Mike
Willie
Trout's
Mays or
career
Mike Trout?
isn't ripe yet. Yeah, it's not time to pick him from the tree of baseball careers. Willie Mays is just—he's Willie fucking Mays, guys.
That's
He
cool.
only
But I
had
picked
2
Mike
MVPs.
Trout.
How many MVPs has Mike Trout had already?
I don't know,
Like 6,
2, 3,
2 or 3
3?
already.
Maybe 3. I think it's 3.
Yeah, he literally has 11 more years on that $435 million contract.
All right.
And we get to
Tough, though.
go
I'm
watch.
clearly outnumbered on this one. There's no way to convince you guys.
Dude,
so.
it's tough. It's tough though.
I call bullshit, but it's fine. I
I
can't.
got bullshit in a lot of.
I can't win them all, so it's all good. Taco Bell got bumped out of the first round of the fast food bracket, so this is karma now coming back around. I get it. It's all good.
I should get Taco Bell for dinner. That sounds cool.
I should too.
Yeah, we should get Taco
I'm
Bell.
not getting Taco Bell, but you guys can.
He's getting Chipotle.
Go Del Taco.
All right. Moving on to the next one, we got Lou Gehrig versus Ronaldo.
Lou Gehrig.
I want James to be the guy. I'm gonna say Ronaldo.
Lou Gehrig, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, got that.
I was a Phi Delta Theta back in college, so that was kind of the disease we like philanthropized a lot more. So Lou Gehrig it is.
Boom.
Moving on to the last one of this bracket, we got Cy Young versus Messi.
Damn.
Cy Young has a name after him.
Kind of.
according to Tradon.
He does have an award. Messi, though, I don't know. He's never won the World Cup, correct?
I
don't think
he's.
I don't know.
Soccer questions.
I don't know. I don't think Argentina has won a World Cup with Messi. If he had, I would have gone Messi, but I'm gonna go Cy Young.
Is he looking? I think he's looking it up.
James, you say it.
Cy Young, yeah, because the dude has an award, man, and that's the only reason why I know who he is.
Yeah.
But he's a great, really is a great pitcher. So.
He hasn't. Yeah, I mean, that's that. So.
Does Messi have an award out named after him? I don't think so.
No.
But he's so good. Okay.
He is very
In our last bracket, we got Tiger versus Serena.
Ooh.
Tiger Woods.
I'm gonna go Serena Williams.
Ooh,
Yeah.
James got the power.
Yeah.
I'm going Tiger, man.
Mm.
He dominated golf for years upon years upon years, and Serena has a twin.
What does that have to do with anything?
She didn't dominate all that well because Venus was also
I
right
don't
there
know.
with her. I could be wrong. I don't know too much about tennis, but I'm going Tiger.
Yeah,
I feel
Tiger
like
did
Serena-
it for so long at such a young age. He revolutionized the game.
Yeah.
I know she may have too, but not to the same extent. You know.
Yeah. I don't
I
know.
just don't know tennis all that well.
I'm kind of regretting my decision to pick Serena. Can I go Tiger? Just make it a clean sweep.
Sure. I mean, he moved on already, but
Yeah, I
yeah,
know.
that's fine.
Just for my own moral.
I called Toronto and it was actually a goal.
Yeah, now you're winning 17-0. Sick.
Let's go.
Made no impact whatsoever.
I fucking love Tiger. All right, let's go. Keep going.
Roger Clemens versus Randy Moss.
Randy Moss, because I don't like Roger Clemens.
Randy Moss.
Cool, I agree. Randy Moss did it with so many different teams and dominated every step of the way. This is a tough one. Kobe versus Braun.
I mean, it is a tough one, and I think for basketball purposes, you're looking at just statistics.
We're not looking at just the tickets. We're looking at the greatest ever.
All right, well then Kobe.
Cool.
I'm gonna say LeBron.
I'm going Kobe, man. If you left it up to me,
Yeah.
I'm picking Kobe. If it was
I
left up to
wanted
me,
you to be the guy. to say it.
Kobe would be the winner of this entire thing. Kobe may not have been a saint as a person or a human being, but he instilled his mentality upon so many people, and everybody in basketball now knows of him. Like everybody plays in the NBA is playing basketball because of Kobe. You ask anybody about that. Like they just asked the rookie Scotty Barnes from Toronto. They asked him like, "What does LeBron mean to you?" And he was like, "I don't know. I watched a lot of Kobe growing up, so I looked up to Kobe. But LeBron was just kind of there." And that's kind of what's echoing throughout the entire thing. Bron is a winner. Bron has will have the most amount of points by the time his career is over. But Kobe revolutionized the game and changed it to what it is today.
Kobe doesn't sit out for having sore knees.
Kobe shot 2 free throws on a torn Achilles. He played with his left hand because he couldn't shoot with his right because he tore up his shoulder. Like this dude is the definition of toughness.
Yep.
And I applaud him for that. Kobe's moving on. Thank God. Last but not least, we have Dale Earnhardt Sr. versus Shaun White.
Shaun White. I don't know shit about NASCAR. Shaun White.
I'll say Dale Earnhardt Sr. just so James can be the guy.
Dale Earnhardt Sr. is moving on.
Are you serious?
Yeah, yes, he is.
I think he's his. Well, I mean, I don't know.
You don't know shit about
First
NASCAR,
of all-
dude. But
first of all-
Dale Earnhardt was one of the most feared NASCAR drivers there was. He was literally nicknamed the Intimidator for his driving style. He died on the racetrack. Like he died driving. Like if that's not passion, dedication to your sport, I don't know what is.
Until Shaun White dies on the half pipe.
Yeah, just Shaun White fucking die on a half pipe to make that worth it.
Shaun White was the 15 seed and Dale Earnhardt was the 10 seed, so it is not an upset.
What?
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, you're
Agree
wrong.
to disagree.
Dale Earnhardt's gonna get knocked out next round anyway, so it's not gonna matter.
To be fair, not that I'm regretting Shaun White, but who last week? Who do we say that he? Who
Simone Biles.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, Simone Biles should have moved on, in my opinion.
But would she have beat Dale Earnhardt Jr.?
Absolutely.
I would pick
think
Simone Biles too over this one, but
Yeah.
fucking brutal, man.
But that's how brackets work, man. It's like not UNC, but yeah, UNC. Or Gonzaga being upset. You know, it's just what it is. So that concludes our Go bracket, round 2. Check in next week for round 3, and then the semifinals, and then the finals, because I got to get the draft going for the NFL. And that also concludes episode 91 of TLDR Podcast, which is yet to be named. You'll know about the name before we do. And check out Tyler on his new guest podcast, From the Branches. Is that right? What's it called?
It's called branching
out, dude.
Yeah. Branching out, not From the Branches.
Oh,
where he talks about throwing a curveball for about 2 innings before he retired and went to go be an AT. So that's fun.
That's the gist of it.
Anyway, thank you guys for
I don't
listening.
need to listen to it now.
Yeah, don't listen to it. Actually, go listen to it. Go support From the Branches.
Oh my god,
Yeah,
branching out.
There we go.
Yo, we're not gonna get a shout out on this one ever again.
God.
Okay, we're good. Woosah. That concludes episode
Bless you.
91, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening. Thank you for supporting us week in, week out, day in, day out. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your spirit animal. I don't know. Tell people we want to grow this podcast. We're doing our best here. Check us out on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. And we're going to have a good week. We hope you do too. We'll see you next week.